Hi, I'm Pastor Kenneth Hollingshed, and welcome to my new podcast, Evangelism Now. And I'm originally from Fort Valley, Georgia. My mother would be proud to hear me to say that. And of course, eventually I transferred to Dallas, Texas in the year of 1998. And I've been here in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex for the last 28 years, currently pastoring Morning Chapel, CME, the Rock Church, downtown Fort Worth, Texas. And we are here to talk about evangelism now. I have a special guest with me, a dear brother and friend, beloved, that I've known for quite a while. He and his former pastor, who is now gone on to be with the Lord, the Reverend Dr. Jerome McNeil. We were great friends, and that's how Brother Ken Bell and I really got to know each other. And he has worked in AI and done so much in radio, just really a pioneer in his own right. And so I highly respect him. He was just at my book signing. My new book, Outreach, is the Architecture of Evangelism, that was just recently published a few weeks back. And he moderated it in such an excellent way. I thought it not robbery to actually invite him to come and be my special guest and my first podcast. And so that's where we are. Welcome. Thank you for joining in with us. And please share some comments. Share this on whatever social media platforms you may have. And perhaps you'll learn something about evangelism now as I offer myself for General Secretary of Evangelism and Missions for the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. That general conference is going to be held June 13 through 19, 2026 at the Hilton Anatole Hotel in Dallas. Won't you come and join us? Welcome, my dear brother from another mother, Brother Ken Bell. Just want to share you. Many may know you already, but that don't know you certainly want you to engage us in a Friday talk to help us understand evangelism.
All right, Doc, I just want you to know that it's a pleasure to be here. I was excited when you asked me to moderate the book signing. That was such an awesome experience. In traveling to Southwest Fort Worth for the first time in about 10 years was exciting. I mean, I hadn't been, and I was thinking, I was like, as I was driving, I was like, boy, this is exciting because the city has changed.
Yes.
And so I know that you're excited being at the Rock Church,
Yes.
and that Barnes and Noble was a beautiful place for us to connect together again. So tonight, I just want you, I know that you're running for General Secretary, Evangelism and Missions for the CME Church, and I wanted to ask you some questions about this book.
Yes.
Because even though I was there, and I think I did an okay job, it's amazing to hear you when you're speaking off the cuff because your mind is so sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have a sharp mind for evangelism. And we're going to just talk about the urgency of evangelism
Yes.
and what's going on in this community.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about some of the things. How long have you been in ministry?
Well, I've been in ministry a total of 40 plus years,
Hmm.
concentrating in the area of evangelism and missions and outreach for the last 30 plus years.
Okay. And tell me about this General Secretary of Evangelism. And that's a global position.
It is.
And are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. I've been ready. I've been already doing the work
Okay.
in the trenches and community engagement, innovative outreach, collaborative leadership, training and development, as you know,
Hmm.
because you sat in some of my training
Training
classes
classes,
with
yes.
Committee on Ministerial Examination. And so these are some specific areas that I believe that we need to be structured
Hmm.
in that particular department so that we can move it forward, go higher and higher. And I'm excited about it and excited about moving forward and helping our church. I believe I have a lot of skills,
Hmm.
gifts, and graces to help our church to move further along than where we are right now.
You mentioned my pastor, Dr. Reverend Dr. Jerome E. McNeil Jr.,
Yes,
and it was the training that you provided during our ministerial examination that allowed me to become a local preacher in the CME Church.
yes,
And there at Christian Chapel, I learned a lot. And then you were at North Park CME at the time.
I
I
was.
learned a lot just going to all of your training classes. But here's something that interested me. You know, like after we did the book signing,
Hmm.
you and your lovely wife went to Jamaica along with a group of people
Yes,
to do evangelism and missions. Tell me about that.
yes. Well, actually, we've been going to Jamaica along with our
Hmm.
Senior Bishop Lawrence L. Reddick III. We've been going for about 9 years, almost 10 years now.
Hmm.
But this was a very special and impactful year because of Hurricane Melissa.
Hmm.
Hurricane Melissa devastated the island about 6 months ago. Actually, we thought we were not going to be able to go, but Bishop scheduled our normal kind of conference there.
Hmm.
But he said one of the significant things that we're going to have to do is go there with help. We
Right.
got to go help the people, encourage the people, and so upon arriving there, um, we purchased supplies
Hmm.
to start trying to help the people put themselves back together in terms of infrastructure, buildings. Matter of fact, we worked on one of our schools. We have three schools there:
Hmm.
the Pauline B. Grant School.
Hmm.
We have the May Lindsay School, and of course the Bishop um, Joseph C. Coles Jr. School,
Hmm.
basic school. And
Hmm.
so, but we worked on the Pauline B. Grant School by actually um, putting boards together and putting eaves around the building and painting the building, all of those things. And it was so meaningful to us to help the people, but first and foremost, to get to know the people
Hmm.
where they are. And it's one thing to talk about doing missions from across the world and sending someone or sending supplies, but it's something else when you're right there in the trenches, doing the work, working side by side in what I refer to as collaborative leadership, because no one person can do this. It requires all of us working together, different culture, different people, different backgrounds, but we all came together, singing one song, one hymn, one praise, and man, it was absolutely phenomenal. And so, if you hear the excitement in my voice, I'm still excited.
I can feel it. I was watching some of the work that you were able to accomplish while you were over there in Jamaica,
Yes.
and it excites me to know that I get a chance to have this conversation with you Friday night talk or Friday talk
Hmm.
on the urgency of evangelism. And
Yes.
as we were talking earlier, preparing for tonight, we talked about the lack of support from a global community that used to be a part of evangelism and going to help those countries after a storm like Melissa. Tell us why that's a missing part of this evangelism piece.
Well, some of it has to do with our understanding of what evangelism really is, and so many different components of evangelism. Just one of those components is
Hmm.
missions. Not only are we dealing with local missions,
Hmm.
prayerfully churches are engaging their local communities with clothing, supplies, water, food, basic necessities, and also just helping that community to uplift. What good is a church
Hmm.
sitting in a community, but nobody ever knows that that church engages anybody in that
Hmm.
community? And so from that, we go to global missions. How do we get into global missions? Because there's a cost for it. And so churches need to think about budgets, putting something in their operational budgets, or individual persons who can say, hey, I can take care of the expenses to go. And then what are we going to do once we get there? Who are we going to connect with once we get there to
Hmm.
do that kind of work? But that is a calling.
Hmm.
It's not for the faint at heart, because that's so much. Once you hit the ground, a lot of people think because we went to Jamaica that somehow we were on some kind of vacation,
Hmm.
because so many people land in Montego Bay and they're on the resort. Well, we did land in Montego Bay, but we drove 3.5 hours out into the countryside
Right.
where our churches are and our people are and our friends are and all the people that we love so much, to the Good News CME Church, where my dear friend, presiding elder Colby Sims, is the pastor, doing an excellent job there as leader, along with several other pastors who come together for that conference. But they collaborate together to do the work of missions.
All right. So, I've been to Jamaica before when I was working with the Tom Joyner morning show,
Okay,
but that was a totally different thing. We went to
right.
Ocho Rios I got a chance to walk up Dunn's River Falls, and we thought about going to Montego Bay, but it was too far away,
Right.
and the trip was only a three-day trip, and we had other stops to make. But let's talk about this book. So, your book is Outreach and
It's
is
the
Architect
architecture of
of
evangelism.
evangelism.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk about the urgency of evangelism. I think this is something that we need to really explore, and your book does explore that. As I was
Yes.
listening to you talk about it at Barnes and Noble a couple of weekends ago, uh, the phrase "urgency of evangelism." What does that urgency mean in today's society?
Well, first and foremost, urgency is not a panic.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a panic. We are really emphasizing more of a prioritized effort to restructure, to reimagine evangelism and how we do evangelism. Because evangelism, by and large, has evolved
Mm-hmm.
over the years as cultures have changed, society has changed, and so we have to adapt and to do more innovative things in the area of evangelism. And so the urgency portion of that is more of a prioritization, making evangelism a priority and not putting evangelism on the back burner, or where it will seem as if though evangelism is non existent.
Okay, so tell me this. So the word urgent is different in this year, 2026, than it
Yes.
was 20 or 30 years ago.
Yes.
So what's that difference?
That difference primarily is the age of information.
Hmm.
When I started preaching 40 years ago, we did not have the kind of information that we have available to us like we do now. And
Hmm.
so our young people, they have information on their cell phones and their devices, iPads, in a second.
Hmm.
And so, with all of that information, what are we doing with it? And so, there's so many other ways that we can reach people. There are millions, excuse me, millions and millions of people online
Hmm.
who are waiting to hear the word, waiting to hear the gospel, waiting for an invitation, because so many people feel a sense of being unloved, unvalued, hurt by the church at large. And so, and that's why we're here, to recenter and reimagine how can we reach you with the power of love.
One of the things that we haven't discussed is the fact that your profession in real life
Mhm.
is you're an architect,
Yes, I have
and
done
so
that work.
so you know how. I remember reading the introduction. It talked about how you change the way it looks to
Mhm.
attract the people,
Right.
and that leads up to this next question. Many churches are seeing shifts in attendance and engagement. Do you see this as a decline, or what would you call it as we rethink how to reach out to people?
Well, I don't see it as a particular decline. while I am in reality to understand that there are many churches who are declining in their memberships. But maybe we have not changed our methods. The message does not change, but our methods change. How we approach evangelism, there's a word called missiology. Missiology is how do we deliver the ministry? And so a lot of churches have not evolved, have not moved from how we used to do it, how we desire to continue to do it. And there's no adage, I shall not be moved. And some do not want to move. And so we, in essence, um, somehow become less attractive to people who really are seeking a family, church, seeking a place, a safe place to go and worship and be among God's people. And I think that's where we are.
Okay. So now, from my new thing is the Bell perspective, from a thoughtful perspective, not reactive, which means we pause and reflect before we act. What are we misunderstanding about the people who are not in church today or who are not connected to a church?
Well, we may be misunderstanding several things, and I appreciate you asking me that. I deal with a lot of people who are not in church, who are hurt
Hmm.
from the church. And then we have persons who are just unchurched, period. They've never been connected to a church. Some of the challenges that we face are in my book. Let me just kind of go here to chapter 12. Chapter 12 in my book talks about opening doors for the next generation.
Okay.
And so this is a real challenge for many churches, many people. We value loyalty, we value durability. We believe if something still works, I'm quoting from my own book. There's no need to replace it. We preserve what is good, we maintain it, we endure. But even in that moment, we have to learn how to evolve. There are several generations that I focus on in this book as we frame it and engage it in the sense of evangelism, the silent generation, the faithful builders, the 1928 to 1945. That's not you.
Not yet.
The baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. Those are dedicated doers.
Hmm.
Generation X, 1965 to 1980. The bridge builders. The millennials, 1981 to 1980, 1996. Those are the purpose seekers. Generation Z, 1997 to 2012. These are our digital disciples. These are all persons who were born in the era of technology.
Yes.
And so they don't understand life without technology. While these other generations, of course, we all persevered and lived without technology, and we are having to learn technology because we are not digital disciples. Many of us are digital immigrants.
Hmm.
We're having to learn it. And then finally, the Generation Alpha, which is 2013 to present, the emerging world changers. And so herein lies many of the challenges that we face as we try to move the church forward in the area of evangelism to make sure we leave the door open for the next generation, or at least make sure that we are giving the next generation opportunities.
You know something? I am sitting here listening to you talk about things that I discuss
Okay.
myself. You
Okay.
know, all of these generations have changed, and one of the
Mm.
first changes that I noticed was cell phones in the church,
Yes.
then iPads in the church.
Yes.
At first, they were babysitters to
Right.
keep the children quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden now we're preaching from
Yes.
these devices.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're studying the Bible on these devices.
Absolutely.
All right, so the strategy changes on how we lead this new generation, those
Right.
the Gen Alpha, the Gen
Mm-hmm.
Z, and the
Yes.
Gen Xers, because
Yes.
they You said digital disciples, the
Yes.
ones who don't know what cursive writing is.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
the
Right.
ones who have been told that you don't need to know how to write. You
Right.
know,
Right. Right.
you can
Yeah.
use AI to write for you. You can
Yes.
do all of these different things. So in this urgency of evangelism, Pastor, tell me how we integrate those unchurched people. You know, a lot of them are unchurched because of COVID.
Yes.
A lot of
Yes.
people are afraid to go into
Right.
large buildings where
Hmm.
there people are congregating.
Sure.
So how
Sure.
do we reach those people?
Well, we're reaching those people through live stream.
Mm.
Bible studies, live stream worship. As a matter of fact, we have online congregations,
Mm.
people that simply worship online, they give online. As a matter of fact, we've attracted members at the Rock Church downtown Fort Worth from all over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They joined the church. One came from Hollywood, Florida. I
Yeah.
baptized him. He
Yes, sir.
came in.
I saw him.
Okay,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
yeah, I was there.
And he comes 2 or 3 times a year, but he is faithful to being online every Sunday. Another lady joined the church all the way from Houston, Texas,
And she showed up too.
and she shows up. Matter of fact, she'll be there this coming Sunday, but she's always online because of the powerful environment and atmosphere that Morning Chapel CME Church, the Rock Church, has.
I think a lot of the things about the urgency of evangelism, I saw it with a young lady that was unchurched
Yes,
at Barnes and Noble
yes,
when we were setting up, and you
absolutely.
had a chance to evangelize to her and her daughter,
I did.
and
Hmm.
invited them to church.
Invited them to church.
That's basically what evangelism is. It's like
Yes,
invite somebody into
invite.
this
Hmm.
to this spirit of faith, the spirit that
Yes,
Jesus Christ has provided through Easter,
yes.
his death, burial, and resurrection. All of these different things. So let's talk about what you're going to do when you become General Secretary
Hmm.
of Evangelism and Missions.
Hmm.
So with, there's got to be a response to the urgency. How do we, if it's urgent, what strategy becomes essential for us to move the people?
I'm glad you asked about that strategy because the strategy, by and large, is this book. This is my strategy, 318 pages, broken down into 5 specific areas: community engagement, innovative outreach, training and development, collaborative leadership, and strategic evangelism. All that we need to know about how to move forward, how to engage, how to evangelize, and how to train and develop people
Hmm.
in terms of how to do it, even doing it in new ways, innovative outreach. And I've got lots of experience in training and developing pastors, lay people, missionaries, youth, young adult, in how to get beyond the walls of that church.
Hmm.
And we've got to do that. And a lot of people, they just reside within the context of the 4 walls and never get out.
Hmm.
And it really doesn't matter where you are. You can be on a rural church, you can be in a suburban church, you can also be in an urban environment.
Hmm.
All of those churches have to be trained, developed to become what I refer to as an evangelism culture.
You know, something you talked about at the book signing was being a good neighbor. And
Yes,
you could you tell us about that tree story that you
yes,
have?
absolutely. We're surrounded by apartments and homes, and what I try my best to do as a pastor is to get to know my neighbors, those persons who are right there within a block or two
Hmm.
of the church. And I also encourage members of our church to do the same thing. When you see somebody, wave at them, let them know that we're here to serve and you're welcome to come. Well, there was a particular brush growing right next door to one of the side door entrances of our church, and it just kept growing and growing. None of our trustees were doing anything about it. So I first of all asked the trustees, they said, well, Pastor, we don't know if that's on our property or not. I mean, we don't know. So how do we find out? I said, well, I'm just going to walk across the street to our neighbors. It probably belongs to them because it's a large apartment facility. And upon ringing the doorbell and walking into that office, I was welcomed with the most warm greeting of Pastor, thank you for coming, and we strive to be good neighbors. What can I do for you? And I said, there's a tree growing over there, and it's overgrown, and we just want to know how you can help us. Is that your tree? Is it our tree? And that particular manager of the department said, "Well, that's our tree. I didn't realize that it was growing that large, but let me see if I can help you." And within a week's time, that tree was gone. And he walked over and rang my doorbell and said, Pastor, we got it taken care of. If there's anything else we can do, let us know. And as an evangelism tip, he said, do you have any information about your church? I'm going to post it on our website.
Wow.
And if anybody wants to find the church when they move in, and guess what, Brother Bell? I guarantee you at least 4 to 5 people have come from that apartment complex and joined that church, united with us, and we're proud about that.
Evangelism 101.
Yes, sir.
That's what it
Yes,
is.
sir.
So, what foundational changes must churches make right now? Not the Rock Church, to become more effective in evangelism.
What foundational changes?
Yes, sir.
Well, first and foremost, seeking out persons who have a call on their life for evangelism. There are many people who are sitting within the context of congregations who have that calling on their life. They just don't want to be on the inside of a building, worshiping, praising, and that, wow, that's all wonderful. What about the persons who go out and engage that community and invite people into that wonderful congregation? That's evangelism. And
Okay.
so we have a team of people who do that, and they do it well, even onto our online congregation. And so we're very, very visible in terms of where we are and what we do in the life of our community. But I think foundationally, that's one of the first and foremost things that we've got to do is seek out persons who actually feel a sense of urgency and a sense of need for them to get beyond the walls and invite others to Christ and share the good news.
All right. All right. That's this is the next question. So, how should the church position itself in the community to be seen as trusted and relevant? Those are two words: trusted and relevant. How do you
Trusting
do
it.
that with the community that surrounds the church?
Well, first and foremost, we've got to make ourselves visible and available. Those are two words. Um, Meaning that one of the visibility is that once you are in a particular community, does anybody know anybody in that church? You know, we somebody should know somebody who attends that church. We make an intentional effort of walking over next door. We're visible. We have some of our events outside because we want to be visible. We want to attract people to our local church. And then dependability is when we open our doors up to the community when asked. If someone needs to have a funeral, we're there. If someone needs to have a wedding, we're there. If someone needs counseling, we are there. Someone needs outreach, we're there reaching out to our community. Matter of fact, we're partnering with several schools around the area. We're also partnering with several nonprofit agencies in the area, providing all kinds of resources. And so that is how we become dependable and reliable in that community.
All right. So the Rock Church is on the corner,
It's on the corner,
and
903 East 3rd Street.
and then the other thing about that is, what barriers do we need to remove to create real access for people that, in case like me, that may be disconnected from a church?
Well, we've got to do all that we can to reconnect with you and any other person who's like you. In my book, there's a chapter of cracks, the cracks in evangelism. And so you become one of those persons who are what I call in the cracks. You love God, but you're not necessarily maybe involved with a church community. And so, how can we get you involved with the community without being injured, without feeling some sense of being left out, using your gifts that God has given you? And so, that's what we do intentionally in the life of the church. And so, I would encourage every other church to do that and to reach beyond because there are a lot of hurting people, a lot of hurting people, a lot of people who, like the woman and her daughter who we met at the Barnes and Noble book signing. She said, "I've been looking for a church for 12 years. I haven't found one." And I said, "Well, your search is over because I'm right here and I'm going to invite you to my church. Here's some of my church family right here. We're a loving church, a welcoming church, an engaging church." And I gave her my information. Now, she hasn't shown up yet, but I'm hopeful
Yeah.
that she will come and we'll embrace her when she comes.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about, I think the gentleman from Hollywood is O'Neill.
Yes,
Yeah,
O'Neill Walker.
O'Neill. O'Neill's this big presence,
He is. He's a big
and
guy.
he's a big guy, but his heart was just like all is like, this is my pastor.
Yes,
And
yes.
then I forgot the young lady from Houston, which is my
Janet.
Janet. That's my hometown as well.
Oh,
I was
okay.
born and
Okay.
raised in Houston,
Wow.
but I remember her talking about driving 4 hours
Drives 4 hours.
just to come to see you
Yes.
and hear your messages at church, even though she can access you online.
She can.
But
She can.
she chooses to come.
Chooses.
So, what spiritual need do you believe people still have that your church must respond to?
I think people needs to be, first of all, seen. People need to be valued, and people need to be loved.
Okay.
Those are basic needs of all people, and that's for any generation. And when people find that kind of connectivity in any church, they will be connected to it. And some people did not come just to sit and soak. They want to really get beyond the walls and do this kind of outreach. All of this is in the context of evangelism, reaching unsheltered population. Also, we have prayer ministry. Prayer ministry is essential. The Reverend Dr. H.B. Charles, I believe, Jr., um, his book, Everything Happens After Prayer.
Mm.
Everything. And so we are engaged in vigorous prayer ministry every day, from 5 a.m. Our Power Prayer Ministry. The leader of that is, of course, our associate minister, Pastor Yolanda Smith Simpkins. You met her.
Hmm.
And of course, we have the Morning Chapel, the Rock Church prayer ministry every Tuesday and Thursday at 6:30 a.m. And so, with those two prayer lines that have somehow collaborated and engaged one another, we have some over 40 to 50 people every morning
Hmm.
in prayer,
In prayer.
engaged in
And,
prayer.
so I come from a unchurched background, not because um, I I got sick
Okay.
back in December,
Hmm.
and it's something that I've had a fear of. You
Okay.
know, it's a barrier that I had,
Right.
and it was that one day I shook a man's hand who had just come off of a cruise,
Hmm.
and Saturday, that was on Friday.
Right.
Saturday I was sick. Sunday I was sicker,
Wow. Wow.
and I was supposed to start a job. I couldn't even start the job, and I was that sick, and it wound up having to something to do with the neurovirus,
Okay.
and that was a barrier that kept me out. So, what are some spoken and unspoken barriers that are keeping people from becoming part of the church or walking through the doors of the church. And I want to bring that to the book because in the book you talk about we got to make the windows look
Yes.
attractive. We
Yes.
got to make the doors look attractive.
Yes.
That's your architecture
Yes.
thing. So
Absolutely. Right.
so this how does the architecture of a church bring evangelism into the church?
Well, I use that as a metaphor for building this project, my book, Outreach is the Architecture of Evangelism, because every component
Mm-hmm.
of a house has a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so every church, the house of God, which is biblically is also referred to as the house of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use those metaphors to help us to attract people to the church. What is your church doing? Missiology. The danger is a church who does nothing.
Hmm.
That's dangerous. And so we've lost the zeal and somehow the work of what we are supposed to be doing in our communities to help the community. We're not just sitting there as some kind of trophy. We are there to actually work and serve that community, to love the people in that community. And so, what I strive to do, not only as a pastor, but as an evangelist and a person who is particularly engaged in evangelism, is to make sure that everybody knows that I was called to evangelism.
Mm-hmm.
Evangelism found me.
Hmm.
I didn't seek it out, and it found me. And I've worked, I've served, I've loved the people. I've done outreach everywhere, every church I've served. I was in Dallas for 21 years,
Mm-hmm.
serving one church, and hundreds of people came to that church. Built a nonprofit center, 501c3 center, and hundreds of people. Matter of fact, we could even tip the scales, but even more than that, we got an award for our prison ministry
Mm-hmm.
from President Barack Obama because we were so engaged in prison ministry. And guess what? In Fort Worth,
Mm-hmm.
we are still engaged in prison ministry with the opening doors for women in ministry. Our dear sister, she labors with us. This is a women's prison kind of facility
Mm-hmm.
that helps women who are transitioning from prison back into society. And so we are helping. Dr. Stanley is her name.
Mm-hmm.
She's the leader and the founder of that wonderful facility. She's attended our church and she's brought persons to the church, and just a refreshing feeling of innovative outreach housed under your evangelism.
I remember at North Park, you also had a drug facility that was right up the street or across
Yes.
the street as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
So you've been responsible and you've been accountable to the area that you have been serving as a pastor.
Yes.
So has the culture changed or has the church not adapted that's keeping people from seeking this evangelism?
I think that the churches have not adapted to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and wherever you serve, a difference should be made, impact
Mm-hmm.
should be made. And it doesn't matter where you serve. Where you serve now, in the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, we don't have a lot of suburban. We have a few suburban churches, but by and large, a lot of our churches are rural churches or inner city urban
Mm-hmm.
churches. And so, where are urban churches? They're
Mm-hmm.
on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. We in
Right.
the hood.
I mean,
We're
that's true.
places where other people just would pick to go, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where we are. And so we've got to get in the trenches
Mm-hmm.
and do what we need to do to help those people, and don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
People at their core want to be accepted,
Mm-hmm.
want to be loved, and so we've been able to do that. I don't mind getting outside of the office, walking down the street, walking into the communities where people are unhoused. People have all kinds of addictions, and hugging them and loving them and asking them, well, how can we help you? We're the church.
Hmm.
We should be helping people and not harming people.
You mentioned being an urban church.
Yes.
In most of those Martin Luther King
Hmm.
Boulevard type areas,
Yes.
there's a church on every corner,
As a
a
church.
different denomination.
Yes. Hmm.
So you can connect with those churches as well.
Yes, that's a part of our ecumenical work.
Okay.
We work together with all churches,
Hmm.
regardless of backgrounds. Actually, we have more in common than we do different.
Okay.
We just need to come together, sit around the table, and there may be some doctrinal differences and some other theological framework differences, but at the core of us, we all see basic needs
Right.
that if we come together and work together, we can make a difference in those
There
communities.
was something, Pastor, that I haven't seen in a while. You remember the African American Pastors
Yes,
Coalition?
sir.
Is that still active at
It
all?
is still active.
Okay.
Different leaders are,
Okay.
leading it, but it's still active. And I was a part of that coalition when I served in Dallas. I was
Yes, you
a
were.
member of that
Right.
coalition.
I remember that.
Absolutely.
You and Dr. McNeil.
Yes, sir.
All right. So as we getting ready to wrap up in a little bit,
Yes, sir.
how should we redefine evangelism so it will speak to the generations today, like those digital disciples you talked about,
Hmm.
and not lose the biblical foundation? How do we do that?
Well, let's keep in mind how we started off this conversation. The message doesn't change, the method does.
Mhm.
How are we going to change our methods of how we attract people, how we engage people, how we love people? That's the crux of it. And if I be lifted up from the earth,
Mhm.
I'll draw all
And
men unto me.
right.
That's the message of Christ. And so we lift up Christ with that same message, but all of the methods that we use are different. I've named a few. Our outreach ministry is phenomenal. Our prison ministry, prison outreach ministry is phenomenal. Congregational ministry, because there's several ministers on staff. I can't do this alone, and so we have several ministers on staff, and all of the ministers who are on staff, they serve and lead a particular ministry of the church. And so, with that kind of model, we can always attract people. Evangelism is always sharing. My visitors ministry is phenomenal. We have visitors every Sunday, and we follow up. That's one of the weaknesses, if you will, of our church. And sometimes the challenge is when visitors come, are you seeking those visitors? And now they're not just coming to look at you, they're coming in a real sense to engage that ministry and sometimes to say, I'm looking for a church home. I'm
Mhm.
looking for a place where I can learn, I can grow, I can be discipled, I can be renewed, I can be restored, I can be healed.
Mhm.
If they're coming out of divorce or they're transitioning from another city or something, they're looking for a solid foundation.
Mhm.
And so sometimes, not everybody, but some churches just stick the visitors' cards or however they retrieve that information, because that's information,
Mhm.
um, in the desk drawer and never call. And so that's a weakness. So we don't do that. We call every visitor, reach out to them. Sometimes they have churches that they were just visiting someone, and sometimes they don't have a church, and we invite them back to come and share with us.
You know the word I keep hearing
Hmm.
as I listen to you talk about evangelism
Yes.
and as what you have done.
Hmm.
And before we get to my last question,
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you another question.
Okay.
Um, um, Connection.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're going to, or you are, put your name in the hat
Yes.
to be the General Secretary of Evangelism and
Abs-
Missions,
absolutely.
a global calling. Not only
Yes.
will you be here
Yes.
in the Dallas Fort Worth
Hmm.
Metroplex, but you'll be handling Africa,
Hmm.
Sudan,
Yes.
all of these different places.
Absolutely.
And so tell us why you are the best candidate for that job.
I am the best candidate for that job, Brother Bill, because first and foremost, it is a calling on my life
Okay.
to go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I believe, according to the book of Acts, Acts chapter 1, verse 8, and he shall give you power
Mhm.
after the Holy Ghost has come to go to Judea, Samaria, and to the
Oh,
uttermost parts
all
of the
the ends
world.
of the earth.
And
Yes.
so that's where I am.
Okay.
Um, in my ministry for the last over 30 years, I've served as the evangelism director of the region, the Dallas Fort Worth Northwest region. I serve currently as the evangelism director for the Episcopal district, which is the state of Texas and Jamaica.
Okay.
Um, and I've also served connectionally in our church in the area of evangelism, serving on the standing committee in our general conference of evangelism and spiritual life. I've chaired that committee for 3 consecutive general conferences, not this past one, but 3 previous general conferences. And so that has just been my work,
Hmm.
where I've served, I've labored, I've sat with this work.
Okay.
And I've been very effective by the power of God to do this work. And I'm just praying that when we get there in 8 weeks, that people will see me as such. They will see the work. They will see the commitment to do the work, and they will, of course, vote
Hmm.
for me to be the next General Secretary of Evangelism and Mission for 4 years. These are 4 year terms.
Hmm.
And so I'm ready to do the work. I'm ready to hit the ground running, regardless of where we have to go. We're ready to go. We got our passport. So, but of course, we'll have to get a visa to go in some of the other areas
Right.
around the world. And so we're ready and equipped to do that as well.
Hmm.
And of course, we're ready to travel the United States and do the necessary training and development in these specific areas that I aforementioned
Hmm.
a few minutes ago.
You know, in this digital economy and everything, you have an excellent partner.
Hmm.
And you want to mention her name while before we leave?
Absolutely, Reverend Tanisha K. Hollingshed, and she serves and works alongside me in partnership as my spouse, and she has a heart for evangelism as well. Now, she's a local minister at the Rock Church Morning Chapel downtown, and she serves currently as my evangelism and outreach director.
Oh.
And so she partners with all of the various nonprofits in the area and helps us to facilitate that kind of community engagement beyond the walls of the church. And also, she's currently working on her PhD. She's in the final stages of PhD for information science and cybersecurity. And so glad that that's coming to a close because that takes a lot of her time. But she's done excellent work in ministry alongside me for many, many years. I think we're at 27 years working and serving together in
Amen.
ministry. Yes, sir.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much for just giving me this opportunity to be a part of your first Friday talk.
Yes, sir.
And I got one last question. We're going to talk about this book for a minute.
Okay.
So, in your work as an architect,
Yes.
or is there any buildings that we need to know that you've designed?
Well, I did most of the work as a bivocational pastor.
Okay.
I've been pastoring for a while. I started in Georgia, pastoring for all of my Georgia friends and relatives there, and did a lot of work in residential
Hmm.
work, building, designing, and all of that kind of work. And I met a bishop, Bishop Joseph C. Coles Jr., Joseph Carlisle Coles, and who told me that I did not trust God enough,
Hmm.
that I was trusting myself. And why was I trusting myself? And all of this is in the book now. It's in the book. It's in the book. And to make a long story short, he said, I wish you would be a full time pastor.
Hmm.
Prepare to do it, I think. And I said, oh, no, I don't think I can trust the church to do that now. He said, you can. If you take care of God's business, and I quote, he said, God's business will take care of you. And it was a few years later, after pastoring a few other churches, God led me to do the full time work of a pastor, and I have not looked back.
Hmm.
And here we are, 40 plus years later, and I'm still going, I'm still serving, I'm still excited about ministry, excited about evangelism, excited about missions, excited about outreach, and wanting to serve the people and help our church.
Right. And this is Reverend Doctor Kenneth Hollingshed.
Kenneth L.
Oh,
Hollingshed.
Hollingshed. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Mm-hmm.
In your work, this is the final question.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about structure and design.
Mm-hmm.
How is what is the urgency in connecting the intentional structure when it comes to outreach? We talked about this earlier about how you
Mm-hmm.
design the church
Mm-hmm.
so that when people look through the windows,
Yes.
it's attractive enough that they
Yes.
want to come to on the inside.
They want to
When the
come.
doors open, they
Yes.
should see the welcoming fellowship
Mm-hmm.
telling them you're welcome here. So
Yes.
talk to me about that.
Well, let me share a few chapters. I won't share the components of these chapters, but chapter 5
Hmm.
is the entryway into the church, which is evangelism in an action word. Chapter 6 is the skylight. In a lot of homes, there are skylights.
Hmm.
That's the innovative outreach of digital age. And then chapter 7 talks about the beams, the structure, what holds up the church, and missions still matter because missions hold up the church. And then we have the cornerstone, developing collaborative leadership, and then the framework of that church. And so that's what this whole metaphor takes place because the Bible is the blueprint.
Hmm.
That's why this book is covered in a blueprint.
Amen.
It's the Word of God is the blueprint. That has not changed. That's the message of Jesus Christ. Go and grow. Go ye therefore, grow ye therefore, and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's my message to my heart. That is my the logo that is behind me. It is kind of embroidered out with that theme in mind. Hollingshed on a mission, making disciples, transforming lives, and serving the present age.
All right. Thank you so much for letting me be a part
Absolutely.
of your first
Yes,
inaugural
sir. Yes,
podcast.
sir.
And before we
Absolutely.
go, can you read each one of those instructional design on the front of the book?
The front of the book, yes. Community engagement, innovative outreach, training and development, collaborative leadership, and strategic evangelism. Those are 5 structural components that we bring to our church as I seek this office to help our church expand and grow in the area of evangelism and missions.
I'd like to thank your wife for inviting me, and I'd like to
Absolutely.
thank you for letting me talk to you tonight.
Absolutely.
Friday Talk.
Quite welcome.
All right. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir.